In Exodus, we see how we tend to want our plan for our lives rather than God's plan. There really are moments when we fall into thinking that perhaps we're smarter than God. Well, my title for our third introductory study of Exodus is Exodus as a Mirror. Rather than reading from Exodus, I want to start by reading from James 1, 23 through 24. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror. For he looks at himself and goes away and at once forgets what he is like. As we study this wonderful piece of God's book, it's very important to always keep in mind that Exodus is meant to function as a mirror. And so as we study, I want to encourage you to study with a humble and open heart. Be ready and willing to look into this book and to see yourself as you actually are. Think about the mirror illustration. You wake up in the morning and you stumble into your bathroom to survey the damage that the night has done. And you look into the mirror, suppressing your screams, and you don't argue with the mirror. You don't deny what you see. You humbly accept what the mirror is telling you, and you get out instruments of human repair to put yourself back in the condition you would like to be in before you make your public appearance. It's a wonderful illustration. And so there are things that we see about ourselves in Exodus. In Exodus, we see our tendency to want to take life into our own hands. In Exodus, we see how hard it is to patiently wait for God to do what He's promised to do. In Exodus, we see how we often try to escape God's clear call for our lives. In Exodus, we see our struggle to rest in God's presence and power, to fall into some functional form of God amnesia. In Exodus, we see how we tend to want our plan for our lives rather than God's plan. There really are moments when we fall into thinking that perhaps we're smarter than God. We know more. We know better. And obviously, that's never true. In Exodus, we see our tendency toward idolatry. We were created by God to be worshipers. Worship is not just something that we do, it's our identity. We are worshipers. And so if we're not worshiping God, we're always worshiping something. And what do we mean by that? There's something that's always ruling our hearts. There's something that's always setting the agenda for our lives. In Exodus, we see our struggle with trusting God's provision. We live in so much anxiety, so much worry, so beat ourselves up with the what if and the if only, when God is faithful and He's good and He's kind and He's tender and He's generous and He has promised to provide. You see, if you put all those things together, the one thing for sure is that Exodus teaches us the desperate and deep nature of our need for God's grace. Exodus is a mirror worth looking into, because that mirror will drive you into God's arms.